Assalamu alaikum students, this is lecture number 4 in continuation to the previous lecture, which was about critically analyzing a poem. We are going to discuss how you are going to critically analyze poems, especially when they come in your exams, and most of the time they are unseen. So today's lecture is about meter, rhythm and rhyme. Now meter is something that a lot of people are very confused about, and most of the time you over stress on this point, but you need to remember that out of the 6 points, this is just one of the points that you need to delineate or you need to explain. But otherwise, there are more important things that you can discuss within a poem. Meter and stress pattern is just one of them. Now, first of all, we need to define meter. Meter is actually a combination of stressed and unstressed syllables coming within a poem. And this is something which makes a verse sound like a poem. It adds music to it. So before that, you need to understand what syllables are. Syllables are actually how words are divided into sounds. Most of the words that you come across coming at the end of the poems are monosyllabic, which means that they are just made up of one syllable. For example, bad or play or sad or thee. So when you speak these words, you do not have to stop in the middle. But then there are words which are made up of multi-syllables. They can be of 2 syllables. For example, return. So in return, you have to take a break in the middle. So return, they are combined together, and one syllable is stressed and the other one is not. So in meter, you usually combine syllables together, but most of the time this is a combination of a stressed and unstressed syllable coming together. So in simple language, meter is a poetic device that serves as a linguistic sound pattern of the verses, and it gives poetry a rhythmical and melodious sound. So this is one of the main differences between verse and prose, that in order to make poetry sound more musical and melodious, you need to add meter in it. As you have already studied Wordsworth and Coleridge, they were also both of the point that meter is added to create harmony and symmetry and music to poetry. So when it comes to meter, there are a lot of different patterns, but we are going to focus on these 5 patterns that you see here. The first one is iamb, then trokey, anapest, tectile, spondee. And when they turn into adjective, for example, if you want to say a certain line has a certain meter, so you say that it is iambic or trokeic or anapestic, dialectic or spondeic. So we are going to go from one type of meter to another in detail. The first one is iamb or iambic meter. So iambic meter is basically a combination of a set of unstressed and stressed syllables coming together. So they can be within one word. For example, you can see here compare. Compare is made up of 2 syllables, come and pair. So the first one is unstressed and the second one is stressed. Stressed means that this part of the word is more pronounced when you say it. Or it can be individual words like shall and I. Here shall and I are 2 different words, but because they are both monosyllabic, so you are going to put them in a set like this. Shall I. Shall is not stressed and I is stressed. Here again, if you look towards the end, there is another word sama. Sama is again made up of 2 syllables, some, and some is stressed and er, the portion of er is not stressed. So iambic pentameter is a metrical foot in poetry in which a stressed syllable is followed by an unstressed syllable. So in simple word, you can look at these signs at the top. So it means that it is unstressed and stressed syllable coming together. So but the combination has to be unstressed first and stressed later. These are some of the words that have been given at the bottom here, and all of these words have an iambic meter working in it. Behold, amuse, return, destroy, inject, inscribe. So you must have noticed that the words which are starting with a certain prefix like a re or a or b or d or in, they are usually the ones which come under iambic stress pattern. So the first part is not stressed, be is not stressed, and hold is stressed. Behold, amuse, behind, return, inscribe, insist. So most of them are bisyllabic, means that these words are made up of 2 syllables, but they can come separately also. For example, to be, or the south will rise again. So the south will rise again. The is going to be unstressed, south will be stressed, is going to be unstressed, rise is going to be stressed, and in again, is going to be unstressed, and gain is going to be stressed. So this is called iambic. And when these things come in 5 pairs, for example, if you listen to this these lines by Shakespeare, shall I compare thee to a summer's day, thou art more lovely and more temperate. So in the first line you see that the combination of these meter coming 5 times, a set of 5 iambs coming together, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So here obviously when it comes for 5 times, it becomes iambic pentameter, because penta means 5. So when you have a 5 sets of iambs coming in a line, so this line is called iambic pentameter. And if you count the second line also, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even in this line you have 5 sets, and in all these 4 lines you have 5 sets of iambic meter used. So this is called iambic pentameter. English by nature is iambic. It means that most of the time the first syllable is not stressed, and that is why iambic pentameter is the most commonly found meter in English poetry. But on the other hand, you should realize that it is not necessary that each and every line in a poem is going to be iambic pentameter. You just read the whole poem and you just take one stanza out of it and you try to decipher or decode the meter pattern. And if it is something that you are commonly finding in most lines, maybe there are going to be 4 or 5 lines that you don't find the meter working in. But if it is something that is quite common in most of the lines, you can say that the poem is written in iambic pentameter, or mostly the meter that has been used is iambic pentameter. So this was about iambic. And then we move to the next one, which is Trokey. Trokey is the opposite of iambic. In iambic you have stressed and unstressed. Unstressed and stressed, and here you have stressed and unstressed coming in a pair. So Trokey, an adjective of trochean, is a meter foot composed of 2 syllables, stressed followed by an unstressed syllable. This rhythmic unit is used to make up the lines of poetry. However, it is deliberately inserted to make the text sound different. I told you earlier that English by nature is an iambic language, but sometimes there is a certain emotion which is not normal, which is like abnormal. It has to break the norm. So the experience is so intense that the poet wants you to focus on that experience, and that is why Trokey is used. Trokey is not a normal meter. In Trokey, the first words are mostly stressed. So if you look at this list, happy, hammer, nugget, double, injure, roses, hippie, clever, dental, dinner. So here obviously the first part of the words are stressed and the second part are not. Most of these words are 2-syllable words, so they are bisyllabic. And if you look at the poem, you see that sometimes a word is broken into syllables and the first one is stressed and the second one is unstressed. And sometimes you have a word which is unisyllable, it has 1 syllable, so the whole word can be stressed as a unit. So the poem as an example is given here. Sorrows like a ceaseless rain beats upon my heart. People twist and scream in pain. Dawn will find that them still again. This has neither the wax nor wane, neither stop nor start. So here you can see most of the words are starting with a stress syllable. So it means that it is not something normal. And also when you read these lines, the lines are not very easily read. You don't glide through them. You have to make an effort to read them in pace, but most of the time you need to stop, and that is the reason why the meter has been used. This meter shows a break from the norm. This meter shows that something extraordinary has happened. This meter shows that there is not something which is common that has happened, maybe a death or a loss or a heartache or some very intense experience that the poet is feeling has happened, and that experience has been showed in these lines. The feelings are reflected through the type of meter that the poet is using. So that is Trokey. Trokey is less common, but you're going to find it especially in poems which are dealing with intense feelings. The next one is spondee. Spondee is a very rare kind of a meter in English because it deals with 2 stress syllables coming together, and it is not very common because English, as I told you earlier, is iambic in nature, and usually this is done when something very abnormal has happened, something very catastrophic has happened, something that has stopped the rhythm of life has happened, and usually when you are dealing with death or loss of a very closed person, you use this kind of meter. So here if you look at the bottom here, two stresses. So most of the time the combined words or compound words are used: football, Mayday, plop plop, dead man, dumbbell, childhood, in which both words are equally stressed. So in football, you say football and both are given equal stress. You are not saying football, yeah, football. So you have to stress both of them equally. Football, Mayday. So you hear them very clearly, the both parts of this, the word, you hear them very clearly. So this is stress, and it has a very stark kind of effect when you read it even. So here you have a poem which you have read. It's very common. Break, break, break on thy cold grey stones, O sea. So even here you see the first three words, or I would say all the words in the first line, they are stressed. So, and in the second word also, cold grey stones, O sea, four words are stressed without any soft stress in the middle. So this shows that this poem is not a normal poem, and obviously it is dealing with some catastrophe, some dilemma, some tragedy that the poet has faced, and he wants to break the norm, and he wants to break even the monotony of the life, and he says break, break, break on thy cold grey stones, O sea. So he's basically addressing the sea, and he's quite frustrated here. He wants the momentum to be broken, and that emotion is reflected through meter. So if you remember Coleridge and Wordsworth and their rationalization of why meter is used, one of it was that it makes the work of poets easier because they can reflect their emotions very easily through meter. So this is one of the examples of why it happens. When there is going to be easygoing, when there is a concept of life and nature and love, iambic pentameter is used. But whenever there is a break from the norm, the meter also reflects the kind of emotion that the poet is going through. The next is tectile. Tectile comes from the type of meter that you use, in which there are one stress and two unstressed syllables followed. So you would have, it's more like a galloping meter, and you use longer words with it. So tectile is a metrical foot or a beat in a line containing three syllables, in which the first one is stressed followed by second and third unstressed syllable. You can see a picture of a finger here. So tectile basically has been taken from Latin or Greek, word which means your finger. So here the longer digit stands for a stressed one, and then the shorter part of your finger goes from the unstressed syllables. So it's more like a galloping meter, and you usually find it in rhymes or in motivational songs and poems. For example, there's a poem here given: half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death rode the 600. So this is a war song, and this is about the invasion, and taken from a poem which was about war. So here obviously you can see half a league, half a league, half a league onward. So you're using stressed, unstressed, unstressed, stress, unstressed, unstressed. So it's very easy to read through because most of the words are unstressed. Unstressed syllables do not take a lot of time to pronounce, and you can easily glide through them. So whenever you are dealing with songs and limericks or motivational songs, etc., so you use tectile, because tectile is more like a galloping meter. You read the poem very quickly. The next one is anapest. Anapest is the opposite of tectile. So here also you have two unstressed followed by a stressed syllable. So anapestic is a poetic device defined as a metrical foot in a line of a poem that contains three syllables within the first two syllables are short and unstressed, followed by a third syllable which is long and stressed. So again, longer words: understand, interrupt, comprehend, anapest, contradict, in the blink of an eye. So even in the blink of an eye, you can say that the first two words are unstressed, in and the are unstressed, and blink is stressed, and off, and is unstressed, and I is stressed. So again, it is very easy to read through them. All the meter patterns in which you have more stressed syllables are easy to read. It was night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. So you can see that you can easily read through these poems, these verses, because most of the syllables are unstressed. Spondee is a bit difficult to read because all the syllables are stressed. So this was about meter, and obviously this is come with practice. But just to keep in your mind that most of the poems are iambic, especially if they are from the English poets, and if it deals with death and loss or heartache, you might have Trokey coming in or spondee coming in here and there. But otherwise, most of the poems are iambic in meter